Top story, we move to the Middle East. Israel and Iran's conflict has entered day 8 with missile strikes. In the latest developments, sirens echoed across southern Israel after missiles were launched from Iran. The Israeli army confirmed multiple projectiles were detected. Defense systems swung into action to intercept them. Israel urged civilians to seek shelter immediately. US President Donald Trump will decide in 2 weeks whether America will join the fight. The White House confirms there's still a chance for diplomacy. However, it also warns that Iran could build a nuclear bomb in just a couple of weeks. Here's what the White House press secretary commented.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is changing the face of the world through its war with Iran. He claims over half of Iran's missile launches have been destroyed and repeated, and that all help is welcome to wipe out Iran's nuclear sites. Here's what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say.
איום שלהם, אנחנו משנים, וזה אמרתי ביום השני של המלחמה, אמרתי, אנחנו נשנה את פני המזרח התיכון. ועכשיו אני אומר לך, וגם לצופים שלנו, אנחנו משנים את פני העולם.
Meanwhile, in Iran, internet and telephone services have been shut down across the country. The Iranian government claims the blackout is needed to protect against possible Israeli cyber attacks. In diplomatic pushes, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio met the UK's David Lammy. Both agreed Iran must never acquire a nuclear weapon. And Lammy now heads to Geneva for crucial talks with his French, German, EU and Iranian counterparts. Hezbollah's chief says the group will act as it sees fit in the Iran-Israel war, adding they are not neutral in the conflict. Tensions soar across the region as relentless airstrikes show no sign of slowing down. We're now joined by our... We move to... And now in a related development, global reactions are coming in. The US Special Envoy for Syria, Thomas Barrack, warns that Hezbollah's intervention would be a very bad decision. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer calls for de-escalation, saying the nuclear issue should be handled through negotiations. Here's what the UK Prime Minister said.
We need to de-escalate this. Yes, the nuclear issue has to be dealt with, but it's better dealt with by way of negotiations than by way of conflict. And therefore, our clear objective here is to de-escalate the situation.
Russia's foreign ministry warns the US against any military action on Iran, calling it dangerous and unpredictable. Here's what the spokesperson for the Russian foreign ministry commented.
Поддерживать цели урегулирования вокруг иранской ядерной программы при должной опоре на международное право, принцип равной и неделимой безопасности, а также при взаимном учете и выверенном балансе интересов. Хотели бы особо предостеречь Вашингтон от военного вмешательства в ситуацию, что стало бы крайне опасным шагом с поистине непредсказуемыми негативными последствиями.
Furthermore, French far-right leader Marine Le Pen insists Iran must never obtain a nuclear weapon, not under its current regime. Let's hear what Le Pen had to say.
Territoire national, les intérêts de la France sont ma seule boussole. Voilà, les intérêts de la France sont ma seule boussole et en l'occurrence, l'intérêt de la France est incontestablement que l'Iran, à tout le moins, ne possède jamais, en tout cas sous ce régime-là, la bombe nucléaire. Déjà, c'est la première des choses. Et pour l'instant, les éléments qui sont portés à la connaissance des uns et des autres laissent planer le risque qu'ils puissent détenir la bombe nucléaire et accessoirement s'en servir.
Australia closes its embassy in Tehran and tells staff to leave, citing security risks. Norway says it's in touch with its embassy in Israel amid rising regional tensions. The Middle East crisis continues to trigger global diplomatic moves and warnings as Iran-Israel escalation enters a critical phase. We're now joined by Daniel Wagner, CEO of Country Risk Solutions, located in Portland, USA, to discuss this in more detail. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. We open this segment with a statement from Caroline Leavitt saying that Trump is going to make his decision here to whether to get directly involved in this war within the next 2 weeks. Israel has said it's destroyed most of Iran's air defense systems. How much will American involvement actually add to this war, and will it be equal to the escalation that it might cause in the region?
Well, first of all, I think the decision has been made for America to proceed with bombing Fordo. I think the issue is, will the diplomacy work in the interim? And if Iran sticks with its previous position, which basically said there will be no unilateral withdrawal, no unilateral stopping of what it's doing, and it won't surrender, well, then the U.S. will end up proceeding. So I don't know how Iran expects that it's going to, first of all, change its position, and secondly, get to the finish line in the next 2 weeks. That's one issue. Back to your question, Thomas. I think if the U.S. ends up simply bombing Fordo, then I don't think that it will necessarily lead to a large or significant increase in hostilities throughout the region. Iran understands clearly that between Israel and the U.S. alone, it is far outgunned, far outnumbered. So it would be suicidal to actually, make this worse by attacking U.S. bases. And it wouldn't be successful anyway, because all those bases have very good air cover. They've got the THAAD and the Patriot missiles to protect them. So, I don't know what they would hope to accomplish on that basis. I don't expect that the U.S. would go beyond Fordo at this point in time, because the Israelis have done so much already and have expressed a desire to continue to do that until the job is done. So they really basically just need the Americans for Fordo.
Daniel, Benjamin Netanyahu has been claiming that Iran is extremely close to developing a nuclear weapon for the past 3 decades. Not only that, Trump's national security advisor Tulsi Gabbard said as early as March the 25th this year that Iran is not currently building a nuclear weapon. Trump then said that he didn't care what his own national security advisor said. Why is this? What are your thoughts on the certainty that Israel and America have that Iran is building such a weapon?
Very clear, Thomas, that the Israelis are certain that it's building a weapon. And if you look at the number of centrifuges and the amount of work that's gone into their nuclear program since the cessation of the JCPOA by Trump in his first administration, it's dramatic. And there can be no doubt about what their ambitions are. Whether they've actually reached the stage where they've got 90% purity and can actually make a bomb, I suppose is a separate question. From the Israelis' perspective, it's pretty clear. They aren't going to wait to find out. And I think Trump basically agrees. Whether his national security advisor, whether there's consensus among the U.S. intelligence community, I suppose is another issue. At this point in time, we've crossed the point of no return. There is no turning back. So either the U.S. gets involved and it does what it needs to do, or the Israelis are going to do as much as they can do without perhaps completely destroying Fordo. This also raises a question of just how successful the bunker buster bombs from the U.S. will be. I'm not sure if your viewers are aware, but it has never been used in live military exercises. It has only been used in the past for testing. So in a way, one would think that the Americans are also incentivized to actually test this thing in a live situation to see if it actually works. And it may take several tries to do it.
Daniel, how much do you think domestic politics is going to have on Trump's choice? I mean, you have the sort of the new wave MAGA Republican movement, who have said, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who said they did. People like Tucker Carlson, that interview recently went viral with an old school Republican hawk who said that he wanted the war. Where you have the MAGA movement who are saying that they want to stay out. Trump made a campaign promise to take America out and stop these forever wars. How much do you think domestic politics, American politics, is going to have to do with Trump's decision whether to get involved in this war or not?
Yeah, you're referring to that interview with Ted Cruz of Texas, I believe. There is plenty of discord in America over this issue, and there are plenty of people in the Congress who are mighty concerned about whether this is going to be breaching the War Powers Act if, in fact, Trump proceeds without getting congressional approval. And I suppose part of the purpose of this theoretical 2-week timeline is to determine whether or not congressional approval is going to be taken and whether it can be achieved. Now, that won't stop Trump from doing what he wants to do if at the end of the day, congressional approval is not achieved, because if his mind is made up to do it, he's going to do it. And the infrastructure to proceed is actually proceeding now. You may be aware that there are a large number of refueling tankers that have been relocated to Europe and along the way in the Middle East. There are a number of B-2 bombers which have been situated outside their home base in Missouri. So the stage is certainly set. And my guess also is that I don't think that it's going to take 2 full weeks in order for this to play out. It's going to be pretty easy to see pretty quickly whether the Iranians are serious about what it is that they're trying to achieve with these discussions in Geneva and Oman. And either it's going to look like it's going to move somewhere pretty quickly, or I think Trump will probably just say this is a waste of time.
Daniel.